what's the latest on the transportation for the bridge?
We're currently going around through Rogersville, and we've been able to, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but we've been able to get the students to school right before or right at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the last one's dropped off about 5:15, so it's not as bad as what we thought it would be.
How much fuel is that going to cost?
Well, it's an added mileage difference. We're accounting for that right now. I've talked to our student attendance and records person, and they are making note of that because we have to report to the state what the miles are and the time spent on the bus. So I did ask for a waiver, knowing that those students in that area would probably be on there longer than 90 minutes. We had to get a waiver for that piece. It's working. We're studying all routes and all times going into next year. We're hoping to equalize as many of those as possible, prioritizing those that are taking the longest right now. So that may mean that we add another bus. Let's say 2 buses are going to a certain area. We may have to shift a third to that area and then account for that shift somehow on the other side.
So right now there are no buses crossing that bridge whatsoever.
Is there a special needs bus going across?
No full size.
No full size that exceed the limit. There's a special needs bus, shorter bus that's well under it's even loaded.
Well, see, that's going to be, it's like everybody that calls my office and says, let's replace that bridge, and I have to tell them, you don't just go to Walmart and buy a bridge and throw it out there, you know. I talked to an engineer today who has told me that it's going to be, if we had the money in hand today, it would be 6 years before that bridge is
If not longer, because it took 5 years on that little bridge down on Armstrong.
Yeah, but we waited on the money on that one, yes, remember?
Well, they had it in hand, they were going to do it. So it's, we're talking about
Well,
5 times the size.
see, the state constructed that one too, which is a little bit of a delay. And, you know, we could get a regular bridge construction company to do it, but even at that, you've got the permitting, you've got the shifting of lenses, you've got the environmental studies, then you start getting into the studies for engineering for the bridge itself and plans and everything else. And he thought probably the best route would be to build a new bridge next to the old bridge, not take the old one down immediately, but that may not be.
Is there ever a thought to maybe keeping the old one for a walking bridge?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be.
Yeah, but that bridge, and we've asked the state to do another evaluation of that bridge. You know, they looked at it last year, but things happen in a year, and we're not happy with the way it's looking. But at the same time, all the engineers I've talked to said the only way that thing's coming down is if you've got 2 fully loaded semi-trucks on it that slam on the brakes at the same time to move some of that metal. The metal's in good shape, it's just the concrete and such that's not great.
Oh, I see. Well, if there's ever a way to certify it so that we would feel better about running buses.
Well, that was our initial thought. Maybe we could get the weight limit raised a little bit, but I'm not real confident that
Is there I know this is the education community, but is there a way to meter the size of vehicles at the same time entering a bridge?
Yes, but I don't know if the state's going to want to do that or not. I mean, we've talked about putting temporary scales at both ends and trying to start issuing some tickets. And maybe the word will spread then, but the state has told me they're going to put up some bigger signs at 11W in Goshen Valley, but we have to add some signage first. So that's going to be our signs are in the sign shop right now. They should be up next week, and then I'll talk to T-Dot about putting the big sign up. But they're not going to pay much attention to that unless somebody starts getting it. Yeah. If we could get off that GPS route, it would be a big help.
We've had lots on Durham and Longs Bend that shouldn't be up there too, but they're just following off the 81 coming in.
Yeah, same thing happened. But stay in the valley.
On Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions on the budget or amendments or anything?
Appreciate you taking time, man.
Oh, yeah, anytime.
Are you gonna do the next one?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
We can bring back the draft and then anything that the
Especially
board
during budget season,
wants
we
us
decided we'd do that.
to account, then I can include that.
Any new business to be brought before the board?
Can I provide a verbal update to routing for the Peters Bend area?
Yeah.
I've provided an email to you all. I'm sure all of you have had a chance to read it, but we had a couple of plans we were looking at right now. Kudos to our transportation supervisor, Kevin Hilton, as well as our two main bus drivers that service that area. They have been able to reroute through Rogersville and get the students to school right at 8 o'clock at the latest, which is working out wonderfully. The students have not recognized much change other than being on the buses a little bit longer. In the evenings, the last drop is about 5:10 to 5:15. The drivers are both home by 5:30, 5:45, around that time frame. We are working with them as they identify any potential drawbacks or changes, barriers. We're working with them to make sure we're addressing those. They are driving some pretty small roads in that roundabout, so keep them in your prayers. It's still the safest considering what we're doing, but they are able to make those routes work. So we're going to maintain that plan for the rest of the school year with a complete route study countywide occurring over the late spring, early summer for the entire school system service area. That's going to be twofold. Number one, to make sure that all the routes are as equitable as possible, timeline-wise and number of student-wise, and that all drivers are driving as much to an equal amount of time as possible. Those are going to be hard goals to accomplish, but those are the goals we're going to look at accomplishing over the spring and summer. We did receive a waiver. I don't know if I put this in the email, so it's probably a good thing I'm giving an update verbally. Commissioner's office did grant the waiver for the rest of the school year to increase the time. Should those drivers hit come up against a logging truck or a semi that's not supposed to be on those roads, that type of thing, and that stuff does occur, those types of things can result in a long delay in transporting those students. So we did receive that waiver active from last week through the end of the school year. So a little bit of good news along with everything else that's going on crazy.
So, but I assume though that, is this gonna be a plan, I mean, even if we had 20 million land in our lap, we can't fix the bridge overnight, so I assume that this is gonna be a multi-year problem, so
Correct.
I assume that, is this something that's feasible to I mean, I guess we have choice, right?
So I mentioned, that's a good question. I mentioned the study on routes because, for example, if you look at those routes, we service those by two larger buses. One of the options we may look at when we study those routes is to divide that up into 4 smaller buses. So that either can cross a bridge or that can do the alternate route and shrink the amount of time. So either way, we're looking at different options there. Even if we reduce to a slightly smaller bus to accommodate 48, 50 kids, we're still right at or right over that limit. So the special needs bus that goes back and forth currently is well under that limit. So the other thing that may happen is there may be certifications or information through the county as they study the bridge that may benefit us in making those changes as well, but that'll have to be a work in progress. And we'll work closely with Mayor DeWitt and his team and making sure that any changes that positively affect our ability to cross that bridge with buses, we implement immediately.
Mark, what's the county status on the bridge? I mean, is it?
The county status on the
as far
bridge?
as- I mean, I assume it's a bunch.
Well, it's a funding issue, and I've been banging on doors and holding out my tin cup for the last couple of weeks, and nobody's dropped 20 million in it yet. But the issue comes in is that we won't get bridge money from the state, because we still have several bridges on what they call list one. They take priority. I've looked at the stats on those bridges, and I don't know why they take priority, but they do. And then on list two is Goshen Valley. So until we get the other ones fixed, we can't put any state money in Goshen Valley.
I'm sorry, so, I mean, but even at this point, if you had the money,
Right.
Permitting and planning and
Right.
all that,
Well, and we've looked at, the federal government has a program called Bridge Improvement Program. That's going to take a big hit because of the bridge up in Baltimore. And they only award, I think they said, 2 grants per state. And it's been recommended that we group all of our bridges on both lists and apply for that money. That's still a possibility. But as you said, it takes some time. Even if we issued bonds right now and had the money in our pocket to pay for it, talked to an engineer today that said it would take at least 6, maybe 7 years to get it put in place with all the permitting, all the planning, all the design, all the construction, everything else. It's going to take many years to get that replaced.
I have reached out and requested an engineer from the Department of Transportation to come and address this board, but I've never received a response.
We've also asked for a reappraisal of the bridge. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. And if it does, whether it be favorable or not is up in the air.
Well,
But we really want to know what we're dealing with.
Well, and I think this board needs to be well informed of what is going to be taking place, because we'll have to make some decisions possibly, looking ahead for the next possible 7 years for those students.
Yeah.
And the quicker that we can get this information, the better we're going to be able to serve the students in that area.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that we would ask the
Yeah.
county is to, if you can get the exact information of what the state report says and what their recommendations are going to be, that's going to be more helpful to us than anything.
As soon as I get it, I'll get it to Director Hickson and we'll have a conversation about it. But you know, the state government wheels turn slow. And I don't know, how quickly we're going to get any further information. And, there's a lot of misinformation out there. I was given some misinformation about how the ratings work, things like that. And it's something that has been on the back burner for a long time that I didn't realize. And I'll take some responsibility for that, because I didn't look into the conditions of bridges, etc. And it hit me by surprise as much as it did everybody else. I was not at the road committee meeting when it came up, and next thing I knew, it was in the media and people were calling me and asking me questions, and I didn't really know how to respond. But the more we look into it, as I said, I had an engineer in the office today that's going to try and do some digging too, because he's got more contacts than I do. But we'll see what happens. We're going to quickly go through this and see what we can get, and if not, it's likely to be a bond issue. And I don't know. We have to work with our Scott, who is our financial advisor on bonds and things like that. We'll have to see if we have to get the whole $20 million the first year, because it's a lengthy process. So we'll see what we can come up with, but I will keep you informed.
Thank you. Any other questions on this issue? If not, our next meetings, I know we've got a budget committee workshop on the 11th here at 6 p.m. and the calendar committee is meeting on the 18th at 3:30.